11 weeks into the off season now. How's everyone doing? Thanks for tuning in. Today we're gonna be hitting a little bit more upper back focused pull session and dive into what's going on with my update. This morning, woke up 239, so up about 2 pounds since last week. Trending upward more so this week. I think was one of the weeks where I had one of the larger testosterone escalations and getting close to a peak dose that I'm gonna be running here, which once you hit that peak dose, you'll still see that escalation happen with esters accumulating over the next 4 weeks. So it really will be about 5 weeks till I'm fully at stable serum levels and fully cranking in here. But this has been a phenomenal already push. I'm up roughly 6 pounds. No, actually, sorry, 7 pounds since starting this out. And man, you see the visuals here, like condition still very, very good. There's been minimal fat gain occurring. Some, it's slight, but an acceptable rate. And seeing the weight increase at the rate it is, and also the gym performance increasing, I think it's excellent so far. So there's not gonna be a lot to change. As we jump in the session, I'll kind of go through all the details here, but where I'm really noticing when I compare back over the last 5 weeks is legs definitely see more size coming, and also my back, just thickness from the top down and lat width, which areas that we need, just build out the taper more. I was hoping to see a bit more out of my chest, delts, tricep area. Of course, those are smaller muscle groups comparatively, so they might just see slower rates of change in turn. But I'm about to deload soon, so I might make some considerations on how volume's set up, but we'll see. I'm still thinking on that, but let's jump into this session. Guys, we'll start with a pull down first. So this is a bit upper back biased, so I do keep that torso lean back. Idea, just trying to feel tension in that armpit area where like the teres major ties in. Gonna get some lower trap involvement, gonna get some lat involvement. It's just a little bit of a bias, so don't think you're taking out the lat or anything like that. 3 sets here, 8 to 12 reps. Idea is to just try to lock that torso and really drive the elbows back as far as you can. One thing that I like is using the D handle setup so you can keep a little bit of supination so it's not completely pronated, and it just allows you to have that elbow just enough tuck, and also so you're not binding the wrist and elbow up funny and causing those like reoccurring injury stuff that's can crop up. Next exercise, another upper back row, prime extreme row. Love this machine. I think it's like contributes so much to my upper back development. So load it with a 2-to-1 ratio, top to bottom. Always loading that up heavy to load that Lincoln position. Go with a neutral grip to really allow those elbows to drive back far. So it's heavy trap bias. Also finish off with like a couple Kelso shrugs at the very end. You'll see like I'm not rowing, just doing like a horizontal shrug movement. Excellent way to get some extra stimulus to traps because they won't be fully fatigued out just from rowing alone. So I tell like fatigue's been accumulating throughout these weeks, and just my overall cognitive like drive and motivation is like lowering. So over Christmas, this weekend I'll take the next 4 days off and only train 1 day, do like an upper session with like pull back on RIR to like a 3. So have 3 full rest days, 1 dialed back training session. That should freshen me up to get moving again. As far as like the week before deload, man, I don't try to just kill it extra hard and throw like the kitchen sink at it, because under a state of fatigue, on top of like adding in volume where you might be more fatigued, it could be easy to just have injury happen, or now I will need like 7 to 10 days to recover from digging a bigger hole. So I don't typically run sessions like that to where your volume at the very end of your before deload is just bury it. It just makes it to where after deload, it's a lot easier to pick up close to the same volume again and keep it running. So get more just continuous successful training that way. Hasn't changed in a few weeks because weight's just still progressing well. So I think people make that mistake of overly aggressively increasing their diet. A lot of times off season, the untracked meals are adding up too much, and that's when you start seeing a greater surplus accruing, even though you're not changing your baseline diet. You just get fat too quick. So I think the biggest things to having an extended off season is stay insulin sensitive. I think that's just so important. And the big things to that, not having huge, untracked, shitty cheat meals with a bunch of fat on them, keeping body fat in check, which goes to this point about cheat meals, and then also hard cardio. Push yourself in your cardio. I've been doing HIIT this whole run. It's been one of the best things I've done, like work capacity wise, and also keeping that insulin sensitivity and being able to be metabolically flexible between utilizing carbohydrates, utilizing fats, and that's how you're gonna stay in these phases for long, and how you're seeing guys stay leaner in their off-season phases. So yeah, diet-wise, that hasn't really changed. Still hitting 3,900 calories on my non-train days. Sorry, my train days, which is like 500 grams of carbs, 340 grams of protein, 50 grams of fat. Then on non-train days, the carbs drop to 250 grams. It's like 1,000 calorie drop, which, yes, I trained for that long to where my weight will just linearly increase across the week. And I'll have my cardio post-training too. So that calorie difference makes sense, and I put majority of that all around training. And strategically, I also put growth hormone, a lot of that timed around that time when growth hormone increases your blood glucose. Use it at a time when you're also going to be uptaking that glucose, and also when we're strategically able to use insulin. So the rest of the time of the day, you keep calories lower, carbohydrate lower, and have that shift in fuel utilization to more fatty acids. And hopefully that nuance does keep you leaner and growing and keeping these phases going out for a longer period of time. So yeah, in general, like 40 to 50% of my carbohydrate is structured around training. Right, so next I go to my lat base movement. So I do a lat row, the lat pull down. So this workout's almost flipped from my other pull session. Love these prime horizontal pieces. So again, loaded like a 2-to-1 ratio, top to bottom. Sorry, top to middle. And on this one, I do scoot the hip over to line up that handle where it would end with the hip, and have a slight bit of rotation as well. And that lat, for one, it helps me keep that elbow tracking pretty tight to my torso. And also think about that lat wraps around the rib cage and creates kind of like a leverage point off the ribs. So the idea here is to just really train the lat short, load it heavy mid-range. Just 2 sets here, staying in the 8 to 12 rep range. Then we'll move on to our pull down. So last exercise for lats will be a hammer strength pull down. And so we loaded the lat short mid-range. So this one is, now that it's hard to shorten the lat, I'm gonna load it in the fully stretched length position. So I'm not overly worried about getting that elbow all the way down the hip. Main emphasis in this movement is at the top. Now this row, it diverges, right? The handles pull apart. So I shift my torso and rotate into the path that it diverges with to really line up that arm path coming down to the hip. And you'll almost notice that it's almost rowing like it would hit me in the head. So that arm path would, if it kept going, would hit me right into the upper thigh. And that lat's almost wrapping around the rib cage and up to the handle. So you get a really, really good stretch and loading in that, just all over the lat with this one. And still just 2 sets here, and still keeping in the 8 to 12 rep range. So after the compound work, I do rear delts. Just do 3 sets in the prime pec deck fly. The cam's loaded on a setting 5, so it loads a bit harder right off the gate when the muscle's lengthened out. And just do 3 sets here. And you'll notice like I don't grip it with my hands just because I have a little bit of tennis elbow going on. So just take my hands out of it, one less thing of overuse, and just have my wrist straps like going against it. So I will move on next to, I don't want to call it a rack pull, but kind of is. It's more like extremely strict RDL, but more emphasis on for my like spinal erectors. I was doing a 45-degree back raise. Now I'm progressing over to this pseudo rack pull movement. It's just very strict. Just load the lower back is the idea behind it. I hadn't been doing any hip hinging for a while, so post-show I moved into the 45-degree back raise. Now that recovery's better, bracing's better, I can get back to doing a hip hinge, and I do it at the very end of my back session. So all the other back musculars are very fatigued. I don't need as much loading, and really like the emphasis is on the erectors. So I'm not trying to make this just a mechanical advantage movement and load just joints, right? Stacked joints. It's trying to be very intentional and slow and controlled the entire time. Just doing 2 sets here. I have the effort level dialed back because I just started it last week. So I'm just building up in weight and in effort as I just am accustomed to that movement a bit more. So what I've been doing intra-workout wise is 2 scoops of Animal Pump Pro and some creatine. And then I do half of a coconut water and half a scoop of juiced aminos. Then as I get, I know it's like sounds so complicated. If I had a bigger shaker, this wouldn't be a problem. Then like as I'm halfway through the workout, I'll put in the rest of the coconut water. So this is like 25 grams of carbs total intra. Then with the creatine, the aminos and everything, I hit about 30 grams of aminos during. And why? Is because I only have 5 meals a day. And I train for, it's about 2 hours long. So I have this huge gap. Making 6 meals a day, 2 of those meals get so close together. So I'd rather have like a decent intra and just have the 5 meals and have them a bit more spread out. It seems like digestion is better as well. You do these at the end of the workout because every muscle is like really hard to get short right now. You're just overloading the lengthen. You'll feel these from the top of your neck down to the top of your ass, whole back. Not to get the wrong ideas on these, like this is set up at a height prior to where my lumbar spar would start rounding. And also I need more knee bend to get down. And watch how I do these because I'm controlling that centric every bit till I just lightly set it down on the catches. Right, we're gonna move on to bicep work. So I put biceps at the end of my pull session because they are just not a priority. Biceps is a stronger point for me. So if it's not a strong point for yourself, you might want to put them maybe in the beginning of your leg session or something like that. So I have 3 sets of a cable curl. So getting that arm a little bit behind me, getting a full stretch on the bicep, and do 3 sets there, 10 to 15 reps. Then I switch over to do a dumbbell preacher hammer curl. So I can brace the dumbbell, load the brachialis, lengthened, and I do 2 sets there. So not a lot of volume going in on biceps. And that is my full session. That rounds it out for the day. I also have cardio, which I'm not gonna show you that. I just made a video on my HIIT cardio, exactly what I do. I encourage you to check it out and maybe see if HIIT cardio is the right way for you to go about your off season. Any questions, comments, leave them down below, guys. And I'll talk to you next time.